Dina Marie from Cultured Palate, and today I want to show you how easy it is to make chicken bone broth in your own kitchen. I hope you've discovered the health benefits of bone broth, but one thing you might not know is that it is very easy and economical to make it yourself. Now there's several ways to make bone broth. My favorite way is to start with a whole chicken. So let's get started. Using my crock pot, I put the whole chicken right in, and if I haven't planned ahead well, I just put even the frozen chicken in. I'm going to cover the chicken with water. Put the lid on, and I'm going to cook it on high for about 4 hours, or you can also put it on low overnight. So let's let it cook and then get started with our broth. Now that the chicken has cooked, and hopefully it's cool enough to handle it, let's debone it. So what I like to do is dip out the chicken, and it usually will fall apart. And I tend to use my hands, so just get right in there and do it with my hands. But I let it drain, and I have a bowl that I put the chicken into and try to get out all the little parts, because I want to save this meat and use it in other recipes. And it's nice and tender. You can see how the bones it's just kind of falling off the bones. So I can either freeze it now or go ahead and use it. But first, let's get these bones separated from the meat. Okay, so starting with the legs, really all you need to do is pull the meat from the bone. If there's any cartilage, I'd separate that. I put my meat in one bowl, and I put the bones back in this broth. So I will finish doing this. Okay, so I've separated all the meat from the bones. Now, if you are using chicken leg pieces, if you're going to use rotisserie chicken, you would pick up here. You would still cook your chicken parts, then debone it, or you would take the meat off of the rotisserie chicken and put the bones in the crock pot. So I'm going to add all the bones back to the broth that's there. I'm going to go ahead and top it up with a little bit of water. And then to make the water a little bit acidic, so that helps leach out the minerals in the bones, from the bones to the broth, I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Now, to be honest, I don't normally measure. I just put a glove or two, but that's totally up to you. A couple of tablespoons is all you need. You just want to make that water a little bit acidic, and it helps get those minerals out of those bones. So we're going to let this cook now for 24 hours, and I normally put it on high and then bring it to, so that brings it to a boil, and then turn it to low and let it simmer. So our bone broth has been cooking now for 24 hours. Hopefully it's cool enough that I can get it ready to use. So let's get started. Okay. Now, the broth is still pretty hot, but if I could pick up one of the bones, you would be amazed at how soft the ends would be. You can just squish it in your hands. But I'm going to be using this here in the next day or so, so I'm going to pour it into these half-gallon mason jars. I actually love them. They're perfect for storing just about everything in your kitchen. Once this broth cools, it should gel. That's from the gelatin that comes from the cartilage. And then of course the minerals in the bones are leached into your broth. If you didn't want to use it right away, just put it in freezer containers. It freezes great. And just remember to use it as the base for the next soup that you make, and I think you're going to be surprised at the wonderful flavor that it has.